UFC 314, here's a quick recap starting with the undercard on the main card. Now we did do a live for that event, so you may want to check that out if you have some time. Virna Jandiroba defeated Yan Xiaonan in a fairly dominant performance, mostly with her superior grappling skills. I thought Virna did a really masterful job of almost getting a submission a number of times, but she did dominate Yan Xiaonan through her grappling. I think if Virna gets a few more good wins over tough opponents, she could call for a title shot. Next up, we had Dan Ige with what people are calling a controversial stoppage victory over Sean Woodson. Now, I did feel that Dan was doing more of the work throughout that fight. Sean Woodson is a very sort of tall, incredibly lanky fighter and has a rather awkward striking style in which he makes lots of extra movements, you could say, with his hands and his upper body. I guess those are his attempts at fainting somebody out. But in any case, the stoppage came when Dan cracked Sean with a pretty hard shot that sent him straight back towards the cage. And then Sean tried to move laterally along the cage either way, but I believe there are at least a dozen unanswered shots from Dan. And so the referee waved the fight off. Dana White also said he felt the stoppage was a little bit early. I mean, we could argue that point, but I think he would have just endured a little more damage had the referee allowed it to continue for another few moments. Nevertheless, I am happy to see Dan Ige get a good stoppage victory. Dan, if you recall, was the fellow who took a fight on literally like 3 hours notice. So in a sense, I feel like the UFC kind of owes him one. Next up was Dominic Reyes versus Nikita Krylov. Now, I had a few questions about Dominic Reyes just because I felt that he wasn't perhaps the same Dominic that he was when he fought John Jones. He hit a bit of a slump, but it does seem like he's kind of regrouped himself and gotten it together again because he had a spectacular KO of Nikita Krylov. At first, I thought it was a short left hand, but it was actually, I believe, a short left elbow. Krylov just came sort of charging in on a straight line, and Dominic was able to counter him with that really hard shot. So huge props to Dominic Reyes. Next up, we had Jean Silva, one of the fighting nerds, choke out Bryce Mitchell. I think Silva pretty much dominated on the feet as well. And I wonder if all the controversy surrounding Bryce Mitchell recently got to Bryce in terms of his ability to focus on the fight alone. I'll let you guys look up the controversy about Bryce Mitchell and the things that he said. Don't want to take up time with that right here. But very good victory for Jean Silva. I mean, when you make somebody tap, there's no arguing that you dominated them and you won that fight. Next, we had Yair Rodriguez welcome Patricio Pitbull to the UFC. And Yair did so in dominant fashion. He constantly switched stances with the striking. And it seems to me like Patricio just never really got going. He did get a couple of good takedown attempts in, but I think Patricio needed to press the issue a little bit more, because I would assume his game plan would have been to get Yair to the ground and then work on his jiu-jitsu. Good solid win for Yair Rodriguez. It will be interesting to see what's up next for Patricio Pitbull. In the co-main event, Paddy Pimblett put on a super dominant performance versus Michael Chandler. Paddy simply outstruck him, was able to dominate on the ground as well. Even when Chandler got his takedowns in, Paddy was able to scramble, get position, and at least get to neutral or a dominant position from there. What most impressed me about Paddy's performance, however, was the fluidity with which he put together his strikes. For example, that flying knee, whether it's his kicks or punches, I feel that Paddy shows a great amount of being relaxed and fluid and able to string those striking combinations together. He was also very fluid on the ground. That shows me that Paddy put in a terrific camp, and he's came in very well prepared, great conditioning, and super confident and super comfortable there in the ring. I always have questions about Michael Chandler and his true mindset, simply because I feel like he's so rehearsed in whatever he says on camera that it's hard for me to know if this is the real Michael Chandler or this is Michael Chandler trying to come up with catchy memeable quotations. This loss by Chandler does raise a few more question marks for me regarding his next step, because I noticed in the corner on the stool, Henry Hoof said something to him like about changing angles or moving sideways after he finishes punches, like don't stand in front of him. And then Michael said something like he's too far away. That means to me that Michael was having trouble navigating distance. Now, that is something that should get resolved in the gym in sparring sessions. It's not going to get resolved in the actual competition. The second thing that kind of gave me a hint was that Henry Hoof said, remember like we did in the drills. He didn't say, remember like you did in sparring. So was Chandler over reliant on drilling mitts with Henry Hoof? Did he not get in the actual hard sparring that you need to do in order to be able to properly judge distance and timing? Those are soft skills that you have to reinforce in live time in front of a live body that's got somewhat bad intentions for you. Now, if Chandler's no longer willing to put in those hard sparring sessions in the gym, he should really consider his future in terms of actually stepping into the cage. It doesn't matter if you have the greatest coach in the world times 10, drilling on mitts is not going to replace sparring. A beautiful performance by Paddy Pimblett. He's right. He did answer all the questions. He's secured himself as a real contender for the title in that division and potential future superstar. Finally, in the main event, huge congratulations to the now two-time champion, Alex Volkanovski, who was able to regain the title with a dominant win over Diego Lopez. Now, as with Patricio Pitbull, I feel like Lopez was never able to really get going in that fight. For whatever reason, he kept throwing jabs that were about 6 inches to a foot away from Volkanovski's head. So they're just jabs to occupy space, as we say. But at a certain point, you got to bite down on your mouthpiece and step in there, face the music. In the moments where Diego was willing to stand and trade and punch with Volkanovski, that's when he did score the knockdown on Volk with a short right hand. That too is a skill set that can only be developed or reinforced in actual live time sparring. You don't want to wait until you're actually in a competition to try to get your gumption up to throw with somebody while they're throwing. You got to practice that in sparring. It doesn't feel comfortable. It feels awkward because it's hard for you to gauge what the heck is going on. But you just have to force yourself to do it. And when you come through the other side, you have a better understanding of what went well for you and what didn't. Your coach should also be giving you guidance in live time. I'd be really curious to see the stats on how many jabs Lopez threw versus how many he actually landed. I mean, I think it's an incredibly low percentage. So then the question is, what was that? Like, why did you choose to do that? Do you do that in actual sparring? If so, then it's probably a habit you want to break. I felt that was a solid, dominant performance by Alex. He showed us that he's still got it. He was able to land those overhand rights, threw plenty of kicks, and he was able to dominate on the cage. I hope Alex gets the opportunity to defend his belt in his hometown, or at least his home country. Dana White said it is possible that they'll do that in Australia. I'm not sure how long Alex wants to keep fighting, but surely a title defense in Australia is a reasonable request by him, and I hope we see him in at least a couple more fights. So UFC 314, the co-main and main did not disappoint. Spectacular performances by both Paddy Pimblett and Alex Volkanovski. If you guys didn't get a chance to catch it in live time, make sure you catch the fights somewhere on YouTube. If you guys are enjoying our lives and our breakdowns, please do hit the subscribe button and be sure to hit the notification bell so you know when our next content posts. Also, if you'd like to join our community of members, look upward and click the join button. You get early access to much of our content and you get priority replies in the comments. Plus, you get to earn belt rank. Starting with your white belt, after 1 month, you will automatically be promoted to yellow belt. Then it goes on from there, from orange to green to blue, purple, brown, and black. As always, you're welcome to leave a super thanks or head over to buymeacoffee.com and purchase coffee. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.